Hello everyone, it's a very warm welcome from Suzuka, Japan for race 2 of the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS. It is the third weekend of our season, meaning this race is round 6, and it is a stunning day to go racing. Not a cloud in the sky, certainly no rain around, and quite different conditions actually to what they experienced yesterday, with the humidity dropping but the track conditions and track temperature increasing. Special guest Stefan Rattel is here, and Maezawa also bringing a couple of his Bentleys along to play with, a Chiron and a Veyron, and some Paganis as well for good measure. Just to remind you that the supercars are very much part of the flavour of GT3 racing. It's a privilege to have Stefan with us this weekend. And a bumper crowd, because it is a long weekend here in Japan, and we have a double header of action. Suzuka round 5 and 6. Next weekend we move directly to Motegi round 7 and 8. And so different parts of the country, but a lot of Japan able to enjoy GT3 racing, in which it is the centre of our calendar, which finishes in Sepang in Malaysia. Suzuka is one of those very famous circuits, world renowned, hosting Formula One from the mid-1980s, but designed in the 1960s as a crossover circuit, and the design hasn't really changed since then, which means it's an old school circuit which rewards the brave and the talented. That is what it looks like bird's eye view, but it's so different when you jump aboard a race car and sit inside it. And we have this fantastic opportunity, thanks to Alvaro Parent, to feel exactly what it's like from the driver's eye view.
Hi guys, this is Alvaro Parent, racing for Habalto Racing, and this is a lap of the incredible track of Suzuka. So we're going down the main straight here. We're going to go into turns 1 and 2. Really quick entry. What a great section this is. Quick entry, and you kind of make it as a one corner. So taking speed and going down 3 gears to third. Then this is turns 3, 4, 5, and 6 is like a series of left, right, left, right, left, which is great. Feels good when you get it all correct and nice on the throttle, which is an incredible part of the track. Uphill here on turn 7, going up the gears up to 5th. Then you've got 2 right-handers, turns 8 and 9, which is quite tricky. A big bump on the inside of 8, quite quick entry. Then you brake down 2nd gear for 9. Then another interesting section, which is you have just a little right kink before a really tight hairpin to the left, which you have to sacrifice a little bit, the right-hander, to prepare this hairpin to the left. And now we are coming into corners. The name is the spoon. So this is a really long right-hander. Before you get to the spoon, it's what they call it here, which is a cool high-speed entry. You want to use all the track, kind of open the steering in the middle in between these 2 corners, and prepare the exit for a really long straight, heading towards one of the, well, it's the quickest corner of the track, which is very challenging and feels really, really good. A really high speed 6 gear, super quick corner. Then you're heading into the last chicane, hard on the brakes, down to 1st gear, in our case, in the Porsche, and you want to have a nice exit to finish your lap also. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Lap of Suzuka, an incredible place.
And it just gives you a sense of how narrow and sinuous this circuit is, in a way that when you see from the outside track views, it just doesn't feel quite like that. 34 degrees air temperature, nice and sunny. Track temperature over 50 degrees, and humidity much lower than we have felt across the weekend. This is Sunday here at Suzuka, which means we are race 2. We've already had race 1, which happened on Saturday, and here are the highlights. Race 1 in Suzuka with the McLaren of Sauer on the pole position and down to turn 1. The best of the starters was this Mercedes, down through the middle and up into 3rd position for number 3. But then we had the first incident, the number 7D station, Aston Martin spinning in the middle of the pack, eventually being just tagged by the EBM Porsche. After the safety car restart, we then had the Lexus in the wall and a red flag, and with about half an hour's worth of racing remaining, we eventually got back to racing conditions with just a couple of laps for the bronze drivers to get their teeth into, and therefore some over-exuberance from some and some very, very careful driving from others. The pit stop window came quickly, and for many, going into the pits straight away was the strategy from Katia Sauer. He stayed out in the lead in his McLaren and tried to build an advantage for rookie teammate Inoue. That pit stop, though, I'm afraid, was too short, and therefore they were handed a penalty, which needed to be served and dropped them down the field. Penalties were also handed out to the 29 and the 37 machines, meaning they were fighting for the scraps of the points. Kawabata in the GTR Nissan attacking, but unfortunately this little slide, this little mistake opened the door for Klaus Bachler to slide his way through. His pace was unbelievable, over a second faster a lap than the Nissan, and though the Nissan then just had to hold on. Klaus Bachler, though, cleared off into the distance, and his first visit to Suzuka took victory for the 911 squad. The grid is forming then for our next race, and here are the standings with Vutakorn taking a decent chunk of points for that victory. Alessio Piccarello not here this weekend, but yet still sits second in the championship because Abu Ibrahim and Lucas Stoltz failed to score any points yesterday, as did Wei Lu, who obviously has Patrick Pilet alongside him this weekend. So they stayed at 40 and 50 points. Anthony Louis managing to get a couple of points for Craft Bamboo. In the GT4 standings, it's very, very tight with points across the board. Just 3 GT4 cars here this weekend, and they sit first, second and third in our championship standings. So that was the highlights of race 1, but of course preceding that was qualifying for this second race, and much like the qualifying in race 1, it was disrupted by a red flag. Initially, Danny Yucadella set the fastest time, then we had a red flag which reset the field, and Lucas Stoltz went out and bettered Danny Yucadella's time to put himself on the provisional pole position. That very important considering that they haven't actually scored any points so far here this weekend in their championship challenge. But Danny Yucadella did what Danny Yucadella does. He was fastest before the red flag, and he bettered his time to take Lucas Stoltz's pole position away from him and make it a 1-2 for Mercedes. It's a very, very strong Mercedes presence at the head of our field for race 2. In GT4, the Toyota managed to grab pole position by 0.5 of a second over the BMW, which does set us up for a juicy first part of the race in the GT4 category. The fairground just to the outside of the Suzuka circuit is absolutely full of fans who are both enjoying there and also this racetrack for today's action. We're going to focus a little bit on the GT4 field at the back of the field. We've got an onboard camera and Amy's down there on the grid.
坂口選手、GT4 クラスポールスタートっていうインタビューをしようとしたら、ちょっとまだ作業中ということで、今何が行われてるか。
ハンドルセンターが思いっきり出てなかったんで、できる範囲でやってっていうアドバイスをしました。はいはい、
間に合いそうですか。
はい、もう大丈夫です。はいはい。
ってなると、GT4 勢ですね、1点差で今チャンピオンシップ2位につけてますけれども、このポールスタート快晴のもと、どんなレース期待したいですか。
やっぱり大山選手、オーナーにマージンをですね、やっぱたくさん作って渡したいっていうところなんですけど、ピットインのね、時間がまた昨日よりは少なくなるんで、
あと1分で乗らなきゃいけないんで、はい、いってらっしゃいませ。いいレースを期待してます。頑張ってください。So they were still working on the balance of the steering wheel. It was not quite in the center, so that's what they were doing. I think it's clear now, and he's good to go. He will try to get as much as a big margin to give the car to the partner. So he will try his best, and he's very much looking forward to this race. Back to you.
Roy Saraguchi sharing the car, the Toyota there of Akiland, with Masatoya Amoya, who was quite a bit slower in qualifying than Max Kano in Q1, and therefore that's why Sakaguchi is saying I need to build a big gap for my partner, because in terms of the balance of the two drivers, the BMW is quite a lot stronger. We're focusing on the back end of the field. There is a gap beside the 29 machine just there, because unfortunately the ABSA McLaren, the number 16, is missing from our grid after engine problems. It was a strong car yesterday. There's quite a few strong cars at the back of the field, and Amy's down there.
辻子選手、ちょうど1年前ですね、ここ鈴鹿レース2で前代未聞の甘々でですね、オーバーオールの優勝されました。その思い出を胸に今日はいいレースできそうですか？
そうですね、去年はルールが味方をしてくれた感じで、今年は実力とルールで勝っていきたいなと思います。はい。
ではいいレース期待してますんで頑張ってください。So I did ask him about whether he is able to drive this race with a great memory from last year, because he was the winner of the race too. And he said, yes, the rules were a little bit different, so it's quite hard to win this race, but he will try his best. Back to you.
The number 7, Comet Racing, the first and only AM driver pairing to ever win a race overall, and that was here at Suzuka last year. From down on the grid where they are, I think it's going to be a pretty tall order from 30th position. As I said, just in front of them they have a hole for the missing ABSA McLaren. Alongside is this car, the 29 Phantom Pro, that should have been on the pole position yesterday, got demoted down to 4th position, and by the end of the race really fell back quite a lot. Today they start down in 28th position, with Kikau not doing a particularly good job in qualifying. A big effort for that double silver pairing of Phantom Pro Audi. As I say, they've also got the number 3 car directly in front of them, and that is the car of Hao Bian and Q Hu, the Mercedes that is in the AM category, but was something like 3rd position at one point in yesterday's race. Of course, in qualifying 1, all the bronze drivers qualify, so you do get quite a different grid to what we have for this second encounter. But either way, they were fighting with the silvers and doing a really good job, the number 3 Climax Racing Mercedes. As I say, we've got a very different looking grid for this second race, because with those Pro-Am drivers, it's the Pro that qualified in Q2. And so we have the international stars at the head of our field. Danny Ukadela in that fluorescent red and yellow on the left-hand side, the number 30 second car, which is run by Craft Bamboo Racing. And then on the right-hand side, we have the number 88 machine of 888 JMR, and they really need a good result, having not scored any points yesterday, having seen Vutakorn take the victory, take the 25-point advantage, and they really need to fight back. The Lamborghini, number 19, in shot just there, a car we didn't see yesterday, didn't take the start yesterday, so very good to have the spirit of FFF Racing Lamborghini on the grid today, that AM pairing. So then, let's have a look at how we line up. We have Danny Ukadela alongside Lucas Stoltz on the front row. Mercedes front row, then Maxi Gutz in 3rd position. Alongside him, Patrick Pile making a guest appearance in this championship for R&B Racing, taking over from Dennis Olsen. Dennis Lind in another Mercedes alongside Alvaro Parent, our driver's eye guide. And then Brock Feeney rejoins the championship, the Australian in the 888 machine, with Klaus Bachler, the winner from yesterday, down on row 4. Eduardo Liberati looked strong in the Honda yesterday. 9th position for him, with Frankie Chen alongside him in 10th position. And then Mikael Mack in 11th spot with a grid penalty down on the 6th row. And Shinato Kawabata, which at one point, that car, that 500 machine, did lead the race yesterday. Expect it to climb up through the field. Tomo Fuji and Atsua Miyaki on row 7. Seiji Ara and James Yu on row 8. Also good points for that number 11 Audi yesterday. Li Hongyi and Alexandra Imperatori will have work to do down there on row 9. Yuta Kamimori scored good points yesterday. Tsuba Kondo, then Reed Harker, Yoko Mizo Waisaka down in 23rd, Yusoko in 24th position, William Porter and Huao Hu. Good points yesterday for that AM car. Masaka Inoue will not start on the 27th position. Rikao 28th for the 29 machine. Then Hoshikawa and Shukiko. And then Tanaka and Shirakawa in that 19 Lamborghini I mentioned, and then the 4 GT4 cars of Toyota ahead of BMW. And our championship leader is actually the Porsche, the 718, sorry. Again, quite a fast warm-up lap here from our field. Having a look at some of the onboards that we've got. The 555, Masakawa Ferrari, the 29 Audi. We've also got live on board on the 50 BMW. And you can, of course, follow all of those as well as our live feed on our YouTube channel. Great to have you along for this second race of our weekend here at Suzuka. It's round 6 of the championship, and we are getting ready to go racing. Watch for the lights. When they turn green, we can go racing, and we've got a couple of cars really out of position there, but they seem to be all pretty clean going down towards turn 1. On board with the 555, there's so much traffic ahead of them. Danny Ucadella and Lucas Stoltz go side by side through turn 1, which becomes turn 2, and we've got side by side action with Patrick Pile just behind. He loses a position though into 3rd position behind Maxi Goetz. And Ucadella holds on to the lead of the race. Lucas Stoltz will need to be putting a lot of pressure. This is where we saw a little bit of chaos yesterday when the AMR Aston Martin got spun around, but so far everybody cleanly through. We've got the the more experienced drivers in these cars, remember, and they are more used to these slightly cooler temperatures within the tyres and the brakes than they might be used to when they get up to full racing temperatures, although over 50 degrees track temperature and over 34 degrees air temperature really is going to be heating up the cars. Now, the race start is under investigation. There was definitely a couple of cars out of position. The 888 of Brock Feeney, 1 position down. Frankie Chen's made a good start up into 7th position. And the number 13 Audi, best of the Audis, and up 3 positions since the start. Big leader Klaus Bachler down to 12th, so that's the car that won yesterday. And Bachler in the 911 down to 12th position from 8th on the grid. Vutakorn did such a great job yesterday in his opening stint to gain, 7 positions it was, I think, in the end. And then Klaus Bachler's second stint was something like a second faster than anybody else at that point, but the names that we see at the top of the screen here were not the names that were at the top of the screen yesterday. Ucadella, Stoltz and Goetz were having to fight their way through and recover from penalties, and so they were down in the 20s and didn't really score any points. None of them did. Ucadella leads, lap 1 then. Stoltz from Goetz, from Patrick Pile, Dennis Lind, Alvaro Parente, and then Frankie Chen. A couple of positions gained from Mikael Mack as well. He started in 11th, he's now up to 9th position. And Eduardo Liberati in that Honda in 10th. The flag to be flying for Honda, of course, here at Suzuka. It is a circuit that Honda own, as well as next weekend's Motegi racetrack. And so their Honda NSX will know exactly what it's like to do many laps around this Suzuka circuit. Uncadella starting to just grow that gap just a little bit, keeping the pace pretty high. Last lap, a 2:03.4 plays a 2:04.0 from Lucas Stoltz. And it is quite amazing to see in this Asian Fanatec GT World Challenge, names such as Juncadella, Stoltz, Gertz, Patrick Pile, Dennis Lind. They really are the creme de la creme of GT3 drivers. To have them in this kind of championship is quite awesome. Right, so let's have a look at what happened for the start of the race. That Honda NSX completely out of position. Now they should be in two parallel lines to each other, and that Honda sitting in the middle, Edoardo Liberati, why he was there, he looked like he was then moving back into position before the lights then went green, and he thought, oh, okay, I'll stay there. Didn't actually benefit him very much. I'm not sure he made any progress whatsoever. But either way, race control will not be very happy with that, and indeed, car 13 has got a drive-through penalty. Now that is Frankie Cheng. So that's why he made up 4 positions potentially. But didn't actually see where Frankie Cheng was. I would have said the Honda was the one that was out of position, but maybe Frankie was too far ahead of where he needed to be. Quite difficult to do when you're in set rows. I apologise if I've just put the KCMG Honda in trouble, but I mean, that seemed to be pretty clear for me. Championship leader then. Klaus Bachler aboard the 911 car, which is usually shared with Alessio Picciarello and Vitakorn into Pusiak. But with Picciarello not here this weekend, Klaus Bachler jumps aboard, takes the victory, the first victory of the season for that car as well. It had been on the podium throughout the rest of the season, but hadn't actually crossed the line first. And it has given, with nobody else in the top of the championship scoring points, a nice advantage to Vitakorn coming into this race. A full 25-point advantage. So Frankie Cheng, 7th position, will have to serve that drive penalty within 3 laps. Mercedes, Mercedes, Mercedes. It's a real battle this year in this championship between Craft Bamboo, the team that's run and part owned by Darrell O'Young. Oh no! The 71 is in the pits. That was the GT4 pole sitter. They had problems with the steering. We heard that from Amy. And that is such a shame, because I thought we were going to have a bit of a battle in this race between the 71 Toyota and the 50 BMW, but Akiland look as though they've got an issue. We've got a Ferrari facing the wrong direction here in the middle at the hairpin, but doesn't look as though it will be too much of an issue to get that car facing the right direction shortly. No, we really don't. We haven't even got race control creating a yellow flag situation there. So it is number 7, which is facing the wrong direction, or was facing the wrong direction, which is the Comet Racing car that won here last year as an AM. We spoke to them on the grid, didn't we? So that is a real shame for Yorikatsu Suzuki. And a little bit of AstroTurf has been pulled up. Now we use AstroTurf over the edges of the curbs rather than having grass that then gets worn away and you create like a lip between the concrete curb and the grass and the earth. We put AstroTurf over the concrete to create a slippier surface. Oh, and is that the Nissan that's been facing the wrong direction? NSX, Frankie Cheng's in the pits, that's why he's dropping down the order, but has the 500 car also been facing the wrong direction. The timing will correct itself in a few seconds. Kawabata aboard that car says he's in 16th spot. I think he is still in that 16th spot. But there was a lot of dirt that had been kicked up through the Degners. Very, very easy to do. Run a little bit wide through one, and you find yourself off the circuit at 2. Now, race control already starting to warn these drivers about track limits. We didn't see too many problems with track limits yesterday, but Maxi Goetz in the 85 and Lukas Stoll in the 88 are being warned about track limits at turn 8. Turn 8 is the 2 Degners, and so effectively that is hitting that bump on the inside, and it spits you out to the left-hand side. There's another car I've just seen in the pit lane, and that is a 29 machine. So Phantom Pro, from starting their week on so well, getting the pole position for race 1, Chikao is now in the pit lane. Now, the timing screens suggesting no, it doesn't go down that far enough. But I think yes, he has left the pits now. So whatever that problem was, Chikao bringing the Audi into the pits, and then the car heads back out onto circuit again. Now, they're not supposed to have a drive-through penalty. I haven't seen anything like that from race control. So presumably that's either a puncture or just a problem that needs to be investigated. Now, incident involving car 50, car 7 and car 29 under investigation. 51 is the AMAC Porsche. Number 7 was the Ferrari we saw facing the wrong direction, and 29 is the car in the pits. And they were all kind of around, well, they all started around 28th, 29th, 30th position. So one would assume they were on the same part of the circuit at the hairpin. There has been a conflagration between the three of them, and race controller looking at that. Here's our GT4 leader, number 50, the YZ Racing with BMW M Team Stude, and Manabu Orido starting that car, but not really with much of a rivalry now in GT4, because the Akiland Toyota is, I think, our first retirement of the day. There's the D-Station Aston Martin, which we saw spin around in the S-curves yesterday, got clouted or collected by the Alabama Motorsport Porsche, and that was both those cars out on the spot. The EBM Porsche following the Aston Martin again on the same part of the circuit, and that, remember, that car winning on the road in Fuji last time out. Yoshino and Fuji. And Tomo Fuji is the driver aboard that car right now as the faster of the two. The only Aston Martin represented, but we've got great brands across the board. Sitting 10th position, D-Station, just behind the Honda. Got McLaren in the field, a single McLaren. Now, who's that in the pits? That's number 3, and a lot of grass needing to be cleared out of the radiators. I did notice that the grass looked very, very luscious yesterday when we had some of the low-down shots. And I'm afraid a car that was sitting really high up yesterday, Hugh, now sits down at the very tail of the field in that bronze category. So the AM category being led at the moment by the 51, which is the AMAC All-Australian pairing. Will Porter aboard the car right now. He's one of those drivers under investigation, isn't he, for whatever happened at the hairpin. But the 3 has been off the road. It does look like they've had the lawnmower out. You can see some nice stripes in the grass, but obviously the Mercedes found a little area where the grass needs to be cut a little bit more by its front spoiler. As soon as you get grass in the radiators, it blocks the airflow through the radiators. Oh, full course yellow. I was about to say, why is that Mercedes slowing down? We've got a full course yellow on circuit. Now, one is going to presume that this is just to get rid of that AstroTurf that is on the circuit, and then we can go straight back to racing again. So let's watch out for marshals scuttling across the circuit to pick up that AstroTurf. There's no cars that are recorded as stopped out on track. And so this will simply just be to get rid of that AstroTurf. There is the Elbam Motorsports Porsche EBM. Danny Ucandela with a 1.9 second advantage at the last full speed split over Lucas Stoltz, Maxi Goertz and Patrick Pilet. Pilet from France taking over from Dennis Olsen. And there we go, trusty Marshall got himself the AstroTurf. You can see where it's come from. All this whole patch here is AstroTurf. So let's have a look at the winners and losers, thanks to AWS over the first couple of laps. This is in the GT3 silver category. So the number 25 has moved up 6 positions, and then 4 positions for the number 87. But obviously big winners and losers also in the overall category. Oh, Kondo's made the most positions generally. I'm surprised by that. I thought there would be others. Orido moving up 4 positions. That's basically inheriting everyone's retiring positions in the number 50. He's got an onboard camera as well. There we go. That's what it looks like inside his BMW. The M4 GT4. Having a fiddle with his analog air conditioning, which effectively is just a pipe blowing the air from the outside in. And it's not really much, it's not conditioned, that's for sure, and it's certainly not cold today either. It will feel colder than what they have inside the car though, because with the heat soak from the engine, imagine on this big Mercedes, the engine's in front of you and your legs are kind of tucked a little bit underneath it, so all of the heat soaks into the cockpit area. Ucandela with the fastest average speed, but that's because he's got the fastest lap time. Stoltz, Goertz, Patrick Pilet, pretty much exactly how our top 4 sit at the moment, isn't it? And so yes, you've got this little pipe that will feed the air from the outside into the cockpit, and it just blows it around. So like having a fan at the end of your bed or over your bed. It's not really air conditioning, but it does feel a little bit better. So Ucandela has the fastest lap, a 2:03.2. And race control send us back to green flag racing. Who's made the best reaction to that call? Quite spread out between our front 4, but then there's a gap after Patrick Pilet to Dennis Lind. Lind's on his own, but then you've got Parente and Feeney who are pretty close for, 6th position, and a battle further back as well. The Aston Martin under pressure from Klaus Bachler, trying to find a way through here. It's difficult to overtake through the first part. You kind of use the first corner to set you up for the second corner. And remember, these cars have been trundling around for about a lap or so. So the brakes won't be quite there, and the tyres may not be quite there either. A couple of corners will get them up to speed though, especially these S-bends where you go left and right and left and right in 3rd gear. So you're very much kind of playing with the throttle. It is much tighter than it looks like on TV. And Klaus desperately trying to make up some positions. He can't just leave this all to his teammate Bittercorn in the second half of the race. Drive-through penalty for car 51. So that's a real shame for AMAC, because they are leading the AM category and obviously deemed to have created a situation here with a Ferrari a couple of laps ago. We saw it facing the wrong direction. We didn't see the accident. But causing a collision is the reason, and he's got a drive-through penalty for Will Porter. Actually, when we saw that car, it didn't look very badly damaged, so it must have been the lightest of touches. Blackler putting Tomofuji under pressure here. Needs to now start getting a move on. Now, what will be happening is there'll be a certain amount of tyre preservation going on, especially with these track temperatures over 50 degrees. And we are now coming up to a little bit of traffic. The Porsche getting in the way slightly into the chicane. Maybe held Danny Ukadela up a bit more than it held up Lucas Stoltz. Most of those leading cars will be easily happy to clear him down this main straight. But I'll tell you what, you don't want to catch that Cayman in the S's, because as the circuit goes left and right and left and right, in your little GT4 car, you're so unsure of which side to put yourself to get out of the way. It's all right when you're on a straight, you can just pull off to one side. If you're going round a right-hand corner, you can move out left and let them go through. Or indeed, what really you're supposed to do as a GT4 driver is stay on the racing line and force the other drivers to go around you, because then you're more predictable as well to the GT3 cars. But sometimes it's not that easy. Stoltz has taken out about a second here. The gap nearly under a second between Ukadela and Stoltz. So it feels as though maybe just a little bit of a push here from the JMR 888 run Mercedes. The 85 just behind is the second of the Craft Bamboo cars. So we've got Craft Bamboo, then JMR 888, and then Craft Bamboo in the first three Mercedes, then Porsche, and then Dennis Lin's Mercedes run by Climax Racing. With same hardware, but potentially different ways of approaching that hardware from all the different teams. That kind of purpley blue Porsche, no points to its name yesterday. Patrick Pilet getting a drive-through penalty after a little bit of contact with it wasn't a slower car, was it? But either way, he hip and shouldered the number 11 Audi off the road at Dunlop, and race control thought that was a little over-aggressive from the Frenchman, so gave him a drive-through penalty, and that meant nil point from yesterday's action, which was okay because neither did the 37 and neither did the 88. The only problem was the win went to the championship leader, and so the gap has grown. But we are still very much in the midpoint of the season, so we're not having to worry too much about the championship. We go to Fuji next weekend for this Honda Mobility Land doubleheader, and then in August we go to Okayama before finishing the season in Malaysia for the final round at Sepang. So yeah, still plenty of racing to go. Here's a silver category leader, number 87, R&B Racing, with Hongli Yi at the moment aboard that car, and he has a massive advantage over all the other silvers. So massive that there isn't another silver in the top 30. In fact, just want to work out, we've got Chi Kwao back out on circuit but one lap down, and of course the other silver pairing was the 16 McLaren, so that didn't start the race. So yeah, by de facto silver leader is the 87. He hasn't got any rivalry at all now. Got to keep it on the road though. Tomofuji was pushing Liberati for that 9th position, but has just dropped off the tail of the Honda for the moment. Pile starting to apply a little bit of pressure to Maxi Goetz. They're all playing pretty fair. Juncadella stretched out an advantage again. Comes across the line, that advantage is going to be back up to 1.8 seconds again. So best middle sector, best third sector of the lap from Danny Juncadella on that last lap. But the middle sector was a little slow. So he's now on 204.6, with that 203.2 being the fastest lap of the race that he did early doors. Drivers now getting ready. 35 minutes on the clock will be when pit lane opens. And for the Silver teams, we might see them take advantage of an early pit stop. For the Pro-Am teams, a lot of them will stay out as long as possible. And for the AMs, they can do what they like, really. BMW leader in GT4 gets passed by leader in GT3. Nice and clean. And now we'll have a chance to see the eyes of the GT4 driver looking at the mirrors. He's very aware that the field is coming through. He's on the indicators, saying, I'm going to stay right, you can take me on the left-hand side. So really sensible driving from our GT4 drivers out there, getting out of the way of our big GT3 contingent. Still a little bit of passing to do here from Goetz. Pile on the flashers, just making sure that the BMW has seen him. And indeed, before they get to 130R, that back marker is cleared. So the leaders are going to go through here, and we're going to get all the way down to about 20th position, and then the pit lane is going to open. So anybody who wants to take advantage of pitting early will have to be outside the top 20. Juncadella, Stoltz, Goetz, Pile right under the rear wing of Maxi Goetz, but for the moment not close enough to make a move. And of course, all of these pro drivers will be handing these cars over to their gentlemen or AM drivers, and they want to give them over in the best possible condition. Now, 360 there. I think that was simply just going offline, our leader in bronze, to overtake the GT4 car. Not sure that was, we were seeing him making an error. Look at his sector times. No, he was just passing. He's the new leader in AM, the run-up racing, run-up sports Nissan GTR of Tanaka aboard that car right now. The other Nissan sits in 16th spot as the big clump of cars come through at the hairpin. Look how close it is when they all concertina up under brakes. Klaus Bachler looks like he might have a run on the Aston Martin here. Perhaps he's just caught a little bit unawares behind the GT3 car. Klaus to the outside line at the spoon. It's not the right place to be. And again, the D-Station Aston holds on. But Tomo Fuji having to really absorb so much pressure from Klaus Bachler behind. There's not been any big super dives, and that really is because we're handing over to our second drivers. As I said, the silver guys can pit as early as they like because you want to maximize the pros in the car. But when you've got a silver, Kang Ling jumping aboard the 29 car, which is a full lap down after that collision with the 51 and the number 7. I'm presuming they need to change a tyre, and that's why they are that far down. Lights are flashing once more from Klaus Bachler. The pace has been so good in the early part of this race. Danny Juncadella, as you would expect, setting an absolutely awesome pace and not getting into the kind of trouble that we saw him getting into in Fuji. There was contact with multiple different cars. here it seems to be very metronomic. He's got full control over Lukas Stolz. 2.7 seconds now the advantage, with Maxi Götz in third. And these guys know exactly what they're doing. They might not drive the exact same chassis every weekend, but they drive the same model of car almost every weekend. A jobbing GT3 driver might be away 30, 35 weekends in a year, where he's piloting different teams, and he comes into that team with this experience, with this understanding of the car, hands over all that information that he can to his partner and to the team, of course, as well, and tries to get the best out of them all for victory and for points. Obviously we saw Junkadella in Fuji in the last round. And he picked up 10 points in the first day's action, and should have picked up plenty of more points in the second day had it not been for the rather bizarre way that that race ended. Anthony Louis will be taking a ball over that car, which took victory in the second race in Thailand, and Anthony sitting in the in the top 10 for sure. He's got 36 points to his name. And now we start mixing it up a little bit, because we've got some cars who've gone for the early pit stop, and they're falling back into the battle pack that haven't yet pitted. So that's Dennis Lind having to get past a little bit of traffic, with Alvaro Parent behind. Brock Feeney also clearing the Ferrari. But the battle that we were watching before, Liberati and Fuji and Michael Mack, they will be the next three to catch that Ferrari, and they are in the S-Benz. So we almost want to see how they're going to deal with this. This presents another opportunity to Klaus Bachler. Lind being followed by Alvaro Parent. We've seen this for most of the battle, but yeah, further back there was a little bit of side-by-side action. Have they managed to clear that Ferrari without an issue, or has it caused... There's Michael Mack through. Ferrari still behind Michael Mack, but then a couple of cars back, they're really going to struggle by clearing that Ferrari without losing a position. More cars in the pits then. That early spinner, the number 7, that took victory here last year in race 2. Driver change, all done. Absolute Racing waiting for a driver change. Vutterkorn, helmet on. This moment, this lap feels forever. You're all suited and booted, waiting to take over from your other driver. Danny Junkadella carries on though. We've still got probably opportunity for another lap. Top 4 all through. But of course, there might be a feeling at Absolute Racing that Klaus Bachler is being slightly held up by Tomojo Fuji. And so maybe bring him into the pits. No, looking at the top of shot, he hasn't done that. So Vutterkorn's going to have to wait for another lap before he gets aboard that car. The light's still flashing from Klaus Bachler. Surely. They came over the line with 29 minutes still to go, so they could potentially squeeze 2 more laps in before they come into the pits and do their driver change, maximising the pace of their pro drivers. Imperatori pitting from 15th position, the Hong Kong-based driver in the 992 Porsche. And he is the first of our kind of top 20 to pit. Many drivers not yet doing so. A little bit more traffic for these guys to contend with. The 19 Lamborghini comes out back onto circuit. Good to see that running after we missed it yesterday. Shirasaka just getting himself comfortable and up to speed in the spirit of FFF racing. There's the GT4 leader. Just got 2 cars in GT4, one in the Silver AM category and one in the AM category, so no surprise that the 50 BMW is leading as Danny Ucadella makes his way through the chicane for another time. Will he pull right this time? Yes, he does. Right, okay. Now, battle stations. I think it was just a little bit too tight to commit to another lap for our leading contenders. So Danny Ucadella brings the 37 in to Bamboo, to Craft Bamboo Racing, and Anthony Louis will jump aboard that car. Lucas Stoltz has done the same thing at the top of shot, just behind the gantry, you can see. Maxi Goetz, Patrick Pile, Dennis Lind, Alvaro Parente, Brock Feeney, Mikael Mack, the whole top 12 all now pitting. Nobody really trying anything different. I really thought we might see someone like Klaus Bachler jump into the pits 1 lap earlier, just to try and just get clear air to track position. Oh, collision in the pits. Big collision in the pits from that turquoise Porsche right into the side of, can't see which car it was behind it. But surely that car has been in the gravel, in the pit wall, not in the pit wall, in the wall. And what's going on here? Trying to release the Craft Bamboo Mercedes. Was he just boxed in? Looking at the middle of the shot, they're still changing the driver of the 25 Porsche, but he just drove clean into the side of what I think was an Audi. Let's have a look again. So it's the Nissan, it's the 360 Nissan, and it's not even pulling out. It's completely stationary, and he's just driven clean into the side of it. Remarkable. So Vidicon ready to go, but being held because of the time and because of the success ballast of winning yesterday's race. So the pit stop has to be longer than someone like Anthony Louis. Has to be 90 seconds as well. They're not allowed to go any shorter. These pit stops are all timed. And so back out onto the circuit, we've got Aston Martin behind Honda as it was. But where is the Porsche? The Porsche will be 15 seconds back, of course, off this battle because of that success ballast. Now, I think that bronze car has pitted a few laps ago. The 25 is heading back out onto circuit. I'd be amazed if that's still pointing in the right direction. It was basically wheel-to-wheel contact, and he was turning as well. We look at Hirobon in the 500 NSX, down in 21st position right now, but obviously this is the lap where the timing and scoring needs to catch up on itself, and we'll then have an idea of who is in what position. And with the success of our top 3 yesterday, it will be slightly different. Certainly lots of work for Viticorn Intrapathusiak to work on, to move forward. The timing and scoring there saying he's still behind the Aston Martin. I don't believe that to be the case, because we did see the Aston and the Honda on track and there was no Porsche behind them. So over the line for our leader in GT4. Behind him is the leader in GT3. This should be Anthony Louis. Over the line with a lead of 4 seconds over Ibrahim. Prince Abu Ibrahim is, 4 seconds out, and then 5-second gap to the number 4, which has got a position up. Let's go down to the pits with Amy.
Danny, finally you had a nice race, I guess, very clean. You gave a margin of 5.6 seconds.
Yeah, very happy with the performance all weekend. I think I did what I had to do. Good qualifying. The start was close, was good fun with Lucas side by side. It's always nice to race with someone you know you can trust. And then initially the pace was, I think I did well to save a bit my tires, and towards the end the car was a rocket. So yeah, good fun.
Great driving. You look like someone who just came out of an oven. How was the condition out there?
It's super hot, honestly. Like, you know, we have an AC in the car, but I'm not using it just to avoid loss of performance, you know, because it's taking power from the car. So yeah, it's always good to have a good sweat. I'm ready. I'm well prepared for these conditions, but it's honestly the hottest I've ever been in a race car.
Let's keep our fingers crossed for Anthony.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's get back to the racing. Back to you.
That's a remarkable fact that Danny Ukandela has never been hotter in a race car, considering how many races he must have done. Remember, he was once upon a time a test driver for the Formula One team Force India as a sort of semi-works driver at Mercedes at the time. He must have so much experience of driving in race cars over the years, and yet this is the hottest he's ever been. As I say, the cars do have air conditioning, but you choose not to use it. So the order then, not changed for first and second, but this is a battle for 7th position. The Aston Martin goes off the road at the chicane. And here comes one around the outside. Doesn't really need to fight, remember, because it's a silver, and so it doesn't really matter too much. But Ibrahim losing quite a few positions on this lap in a 888. No, I think his transponder is not working, looking at the graphics, because we're watching him on screen in the 888 sitting behind the 333, so that's 8th position, but the graphics saying he's down in 20th, so ignore that for a moment. Either way, he is under huge amounts of pressure. The car he's taken over from Brock Feeney. Jeffrey Ibrahim having to go to the inside at Degner. Just a little bit of defensive driving. I thought I heard contact. I'm not sure there was any, but he got a little bit of a wiggle out of Degner too, and that surely is going to offer an opportunity here for one in the Porsche to look up the inside. Is there space? No, there isn't. The Aston Martin losing a position to the Porsche. And this is all over 7th position. Well, actually really 8th, because the 333 has slightly checked out, hasn't he? So, checking in then with the 888 machine. Abu Ibrahim in 2nd position, taking over from Lucas Stoltz. So, it's as it was in the front two. Danny Ukandela handing over to Anthony Liu and still leading. The gap is quite big, 4.2 to Abu Ibrahim. And then the change is in 3rd position, because Wei Lu has inherited 3rd ahead of Jeffrey Lee. Jeffrey Lee taking over the car that was previously piloted by Maxi Gut. So that has been a change for 3rd position. And I think that might be due to, trying to remember, no, it's not due to performance ballast, is it? It's been a very slow pit stop for Jeffrey Lee, and the gap now to 19 seconds. Lee's going to lose another position, I think, to the Climax Mercedes, the number 2 car, very shortly. And then we've got that battle we were following for 7th position. Further back, Vitakorn into Puvisak down in 13th spot. Ignore the Ferrari behind, because that is a back marker. After being spun around. Into Puvisak has got Andrew Haryanto ahead of him, 1.8 seconds up the road. And then a buffer to pull Yip behind. So in a comfortable position, Yip in that Honda, that's a big loser from the pit stops as well. Inside the top 10 pre-pit stop, and now down in 14th position. One of the winners, I would say, the BMW number 5, Team Stude up to 12th spot with the Yamaguchi aboard that car now. Can't be far off the back of the pack that we were watching. As we at 7 machine, as I say, 1 lap down after being spun around at the hairpin. So not a very happy day for Comet Racing and the pairing, the AM pairing that took victory last year. Right, this is a battle for third. Jeffrey Lee then. I said that his pace wasn't quite up there, and already looking down the inside for that third position. Biyang Zhu decides against it through turn 1, but it feels a little bit inevitable, doesn't it? And what they need to do, oh, actually, hang on, they've both got ahead of Wei Lu here. So this has become the battle for third position. Wei Lu was in third spot in the Porsche. He's now the purple car behind. Round the outside, which will give you the inside to the next part. There's no chance there for Zhu. Jeffrey Lee sitting very much in the middle of the road here. Zhu goes to the left-hand side, no space there. Here comes Lu, maybe to get a fight back. Again, they try and go side by side through Degner, another place where you really shouldn't be doing that. Just save the energy, save the focus to a place where you can make a good overtaking opportunity, which is here, the hairpin. But Jeffrey Lee now losing that spot to Lu. From third down to 5th. And Lu needs to chase down Zhu because we've now got a yellow flag out and we go full course yellow. We go full course yellow, so there's a bit of frenetic activity for you. With a change for that third position. Li Zhu and Lu fighting over that third spot. And then a bit of a gap to Chris Chai, 3.4 back. Now, why have we got a full course yellow? That's the question. What is going on? We haven't seen anything on our timing screens to suggest a stationary car. Oh, it's going to be a short one. It's ending in 10 seconds. So, again, probably just some debris that needs to be cleared up. And there we go, back to green flag then. I hope everyone was all across that, because a short full course yellow can sometimes catch drivers out. But Anthony Liu continues to lead. Second position, the double 8 of Abu Ibrahim. Then a big gap now to Jeffrey Lee, it'll be Zhu, won't it be, in third position. Ignore that one, because he's a lap down. And here's this frenetic battle for 7th, 8th and 9th. Another back marker, the Lamborghini in the way, but Zhu in third, Lu in 4th, Jeffrey Lee dropping back even further into the chasing pack of Chris Chai, Bao Huan, Ibrahim, Hoshina. There's loads, absolutely amazing battle for 5th position.
Luca, it seemed like you had some great battling with Danny at the beginning of your stint. How was your stint?
Yeah, good. I thought I got him at the start. I tried to go around the outside in turn 1, turn 2. But he was on the inside. I had a bit better line, but it was still great fun. Now Boo is in the car, and we have, I think, a gap of 5 seconds. And he's doing a good job, so we look forward to a podium, hopefully.
I guess this quick, the yellow flag just right now was in favor for you.
Yeah, it seems like it got down the gap a little bit. But yeah, let's see, because this track is really demanding for the tires, so you have to manage a lot. But yeah, Boo is doing a great job.
Let's get back to racing. Back to you.
Yeah, and there's a lot of racing going on. There's our top 2, and as you say, Abu Ibrahim Looks like at the moment he's got better pace than Anthony Liu in front of him. The gap is coming down between those two, and just look at the advantage that they have over third position. Nearly half a minute advantage over Zhu in third. And that third position is also very, very close. Zhu, Liu, then a small gap, then Li, Chai, Bao, Huan, Ibrahim, Hoshino, and then a gap to Chen in 10th position. So here is Zhu and Wei Lu. At the moment, Mercedes 1, 2, 3. Perhaps not quite the pace to challenge, but here's the rest of the field basically over on the same piece of tarmac. Look at the back of that pack. You've got the 911 car, so you've got our championship leader within the ability to get quite quickly up into 5th position. This is going to be absolutely mega. Not particularly mega for the 85 crew of Maxi Goetz and Jeffrey Lee, because they are the ones that have been caught hand over fist by this battle. And Chris Onchai then in the Phantom Pro Audi, right on the tail of the Mercedes, almost being boxed in. And every time he's not attacking, he's going to be attacked. Juan in the silver class Porsche, third in that queue. Then Bao, then Hoshino in the D-Station Aston. Now there's a bit of a gap, isn't there, after Hoshino to Jeffrey Ibrahim. With Jeffrey Ibrahim with the BMW of Yamaguchi behind, Harianto and Interpuvasak. How many cars on the same piece of tarmac? I think that's 9. Remarkable. We've got 10 minutes left of the race, and so much can still change here. Okay, it's not for the podium. We'll keep an eye on the gap in the lead. There is our leader, who's now found himself a bit of traffic to contend with, but it does feel as though on that last lap the gap has come out again. It was 2.4 and it's out to 4 seconds again. Yes, so that was a good lap from Anthony Liu, and he's grown that advantage over Abu Ibrahim. So we can park that for the moment. We don't have to worry too much about any changes there, and we have to wait half a minute before we get the third position battle over the line. Here they are, no change there either. Zhu and Liu very close to each other though. Feels as though Wei Lu could potentially find a possibility. Ignore the graphics with Jeffrey Ibrahim dropping down, because that is that's just his transponder not working. And Chai has got ahead of Jeffrey Lee, so Wan and Chai 5th and 6th now. Lee's dropped down to 7th. There is Lee now ahead of his next group of cars. 992 is Bao, Ibrahim, Harianto, Interpuvasak and Yamaguchi, and Jeffrey Lee holding on for all he can, getting his elbows out and defending. And just look at how many cars are all over the back of that Mercedes, trying to find a way through. Good drive out of the corner from Bao. That's going to be 1 position gained, because the more they sit behind this Mercedes, the more they lose touch with the battling pack ahead, and less of an opportunity. Remember, points down to the top 10. So Harianto, Interpuvasak, Yamaguchi, Chen out of the points right now. Jeffrey Lee holds the key, really. We've got that number 11 Audi that just missed out on the podium yesterday, didn't it? It was 4th position. 11th right now. Let's have a look at what's been going on out on circuit. This was this attempted move. A gap kind of opened up, didn't it? And the 992 decided to go round the outside the first part, which in theory gives you the inside the second part. But Jeffrey Lee said, no, I'm shutting that door. And now, what's going on here? Oh, traffic with the 718. That's going to cost cost the number 2. Zhu really compromised in the chicane here. Can Juan take advantage? Didn't really get the good drive off the corner, did he? There's still a couple of car lengths between the two of them. You'd have thought that the back marker holding up the number 2 would have given more of a chance for the Porsche. But Juan just didn't quite, Lou just didn't quite take advantage of that. Now, news just coming in that Chris Chu has been given a penalty for causing a collision. So that's the 6th place 333 car. Drive-through penalty for causing a collision at turn 16. That is the chicane. Don't remember if we saw that either, to be honest. But Chris Chai has done such a good job of getting that Phantom Pro car up to 6th spot. Is now going to have to hand it 6th to the Aston Martin of Hoshino. More desperation to try and get past Jeffrey Lee, this time from Vitakorn and Tapruvasek and Yamaguchi also trying to find a way through. Got to be careful though, because it's so easy to throw it off the road. Oh, Jeffrey Lee's done it. Oh, and so is the BMW, followed him off in sympathy. So Yamaguchi's going to lose a couple of positions here. Difficult to see through the dust what's happening. There's a little bit of bashing going on. Oh, the car off under the bridge. Who was that went off under the bridge? Couldn't see, but we've got a car off on the bridge. I reckon that Ferrari's got damage as well. I think there's a puncture on the rear right corner. And he's 1 lap down, but there was banging between himself and the BMW. And let's see this again. So Jeffrey Lee, looking in his mirrors, just drives clean off the road. The BMW goes off in sympathy. The question is what happens next as the BMW comes back onto the circuit. He starts banging wheels with the Ferrari. Oh, I just can't quite see what just went off on the circuit. I think it was a Porsche. No, it was the Nissan, and look at that, huge damage to the GTR Nissan. Hidebon out of the race. And I'm presuming that is the car that went off under the bridge. Yeah, because he is still moving it, but oh, just stop now. Oh, and the 888 is off. Jeffrey Ibrahim has looped it around. And is he in the gravel there? I think those rear wheels might be in the gravel. We've only got 5 minutes left of this race. Oh, he's got it going again. That's good. We don't go to safety car. The Ferrari obviously didn't have a puncture, just needed to clean its tyres. It's in the way. It is 1 lap down. 2nd in the bronze. But Yamasaka should really not be getting involved with these guys who are effectively fighting over the last points in the race. Chris Chai comes into the pits to serve that drive-through penalty. That promotes Hoshino up to 6th, Bao up to 7th, Haryanto up to 8th. Tapruvasek now in 9th position, and Chen will pick up 10th spot on the points. A championship is won on your bad days, not on your good days. And Anton Tapruvasek is proving that today. It's not going to be a big points haul for the Porsche, but he's going to get some. Now we've got a drive-through penalty also for car 8. Santosho for causing a collision. And Santoso, I don't know whether did he get caught up by somebody else? Why did the 500 go off the circuit? Here is, okay, so that's the aftermath of the accident. So he came out of the Degna 2 and spun under the bridge. We just about caught that as we were watching the battling and Jeffrey Lee going off the circuit. I wonder whether it was simply that there was loads of gravel on the track having been brought back on by the BMW and the Mercedes, and it just caught out the Nissan. He got on the throttle and looped it around. So 8 comes in for a drive-through penalty. And there is an investigation under what happened to the 500. I'm not sure we'll get a conclusion to that before the end of the race, because we've only got 3 minutes left. Zhu and Lu. Still the battle for 3rd position goes on. Silver leader Juan up to 5th position now. Liang Huang with Hoshino, Bao, Haryanto. And that big pack that we saw has slightly spread out now. Hoshino still has Yinglong Bao and Andrew Haryanto for company. But then there's a small gap to Interpubasak. Oh no! That's the number 3 into the back of the number 60. Bian down in 28th position. It's not been a good day, but Nakashini is now facing the wrong direction in the 60. A light cluster sitting on the circuit as well. Yep, I think that might be the light actually out of the Mercedes. And a rather smoking number 3 now heading down into the first turn. Chang Ling second in silver, 28th and a whole lap down though. And here comes Anthony Liu. Yellow flags at the chicane. Mercedes still not moving yet. But this will be Anthony going on to the final lap then. He's got 9.2 seconds of an advantage. Winner in race 2 in Buriram. And then pretty much pointless since. Got a couple of points in race 1 in Fuji, but nothing from race 2 and nothing from yesterday. But Danny Juncadella doing absolutely what he needs to do. Abu Abraham just doesn't have the pace. Here it is again. Okay, so Ferrari gets hit. Yeah, Ferrari's nearly about to hit the 25 Porsche and then gets spun around by the number 3 Mercedes. Here's that battle for 3rd position. Onto the final lap now. Zhu and Liu. The number 4 car in that championship hunt. Wei Lu sharing with Dennis Olsen usually, but Patrick Pilet this weekend. 40 points to their name coming into today's race. The number 2 with 34 points. And they will be happy to pick up some more points from today after a good haul yesterday as well. In the end, Interpubasak just not being able to recover that 15-second penalty for the success yesterday, and really Klaus Backlund not making a massive impact on the early part of the race. A few back markers to clear for Anthony Liu. But we are on the final lap. The timer is going to tick down, and it is going to be a victory for Anthony Liu. A little bit of traffic to contend with. He's got the massive advantage. He doesn't need to be too forceful. Slightly offline into the chicane, but that's okay. Ferrari now has moved on. Through the final turn then. Juncadella with amazing first stint, a solid first stint, and Anthony Liu brings the car home with an increased advantage of 10 seconds over Abu Ibrahim. Here comes Abu Ibrahim, the Prince of Johor, getting himself 2nd spot and a podium finish. It's really good for his championship aspirations. And it looks as though it's going to be... Is it going to be Zhu or is Liu ahead? No, Liu is ahead on the last lap. The Porsche has got himself ahead, so it's not going to be a 1-2-3 for Mercedes. Great last lap for Liu, and Wei Lu takes a checker flag in 3rd. Disappointment therefore for Climax Racing and Bihang Zhu, who held on to that for most of the second half of the race, but has lost the 3rd position on the last lap. Kwan, Hoshino, Bao, Haryanto, Interpubasak taking the checker flag almost together. And the last of our point scorers, a rally crossing BMW, yes. Yamaguchi picks up 10th spot. Well, I wonder what happened on that last lap between Liu and Zhu. It was threatening to happen for about 15-20 minutes, wasn't it? But in the end, it changed on the very last lap. In fact, usually timing screens kind of tell you where that happened, and I think it may have been in the first sector. Either way, here is number 37. Through the hairpin. And a gap of 9.2 in the end, so it did drop on that last lap. But Anthony Liu doing a really, really strong job. Victory in Thailand. They did also pick up a single point in the first race of that weekend. And points from the first race in Fuji, and then a full haul here. But unfortunately, in terms of rivals, the number 4 and the number 88 also will join him on the podium. And those three fighting effectively over second spot in the standings, with Interpruvasak still holding on to the lead of the championship because he did score a couple of points in this race. And he goes into next weekend then as our championship leader. Motegi just a couple of days away. If you love your racing, your GT3 racing in Asia, you don't have long to wait, because Motegi will come on the 22nd and 23rd of July next weekend. A double header for these guys. And actually quite good news, because not too many big damaged cars. We lost the Lexus yesterday, the 96. That crashed into a Armco barrier. And I have to say, the Honda does look pretty badly damaged as well. It hit the parapon, didn't it? It hit the underside of the tunnel. But here we go. Danny Ucadella part sharing this car this year with Anthony Liu. Led from pole position, but Anthony Liu did all the hard work in the second half of the race. And yes, victory. Happy days for Anthony Liu. Absolutely flying, yeah, absolutely. And in comparison to all the other rivals around him, he just had so much more pace, didn't he? There was 1 or 2 laps where Abu Ibrahim nibbled away at that advantage, but in the second half of the stint, there was just no answering whatsoever. Down there is Amy getting her 2 drivers ready. Championship promoter Benjamin Franceschi on the left-hand side. And let's get down to Amy then, who's got our winners, Danny Ucadella and Anthony Liu.
You first. I first.
You first. Gentlemen, what a perfect pole to win. You came back with a margin of 10 seconds to the back. How was your cruise?
The car was mega. My teammate was super, and I just need to drive like a free practice. So, yeah, thanks to him and thanks to the team. Yeah.
Congratulations. It's your second win this season.
Yeah, 2 out of 6 ain't bad, huh?
Ain't bad.
Yeah.
So Danny, you contributed to the second win of the season. How does it feel?
Yeah, it's great, especially after Fuji, where I feel we deserve to win as well, but unfortunately we got taken out. So great day. Also yesterday with qualifying, Anthony's a great bronze driver, and the team gave us a really good car. So yeah, that's the result.
Great. So you have a week of celebration, and we'll be back racing next week. So celebrate well, and congratulations again. Back to you.
Yeah, really cool for these European drivers to have this back-to-back. Spend a little bit of time in the Japanese summer sunshine. And so let's see what it's done to our championship standings then with our top couple of drivers. Here are the results first. Liu and Ucadella winning ahead of Ibrahim and Stoltz, with on the last lap Liu and Pile grabbing that third position from Zhu and Lind. R&B Racing number 87. The silver winners, they were really unchallenged in the end, because one retired before the start of the race and one had an issue in the race. The best of our bronze drivers ended up being the 2 Australians of AMAC Motorsport. Despite the drive-through penalty, they take the AM Cup in 23rd spot. And just a couple of retirements, unfortunately. We lost actually 2 of our 3 GT4 cars and the Nissan NSX. An entertaining battle across that 1 hour with the pros starting and then the AMs afterwards, and it was very well behaved. Let's have a look. Out of position at the start, the Honda didn't get the penalty, but Frankie Chen did get a penalty in the middle of the pack, and it went side by side with Danny Ucadella on the left-hand side and Lucas Stoltz on the right-hand side. Maxi Götz and Patrick Pile going side by side from the second row, but they all eventually respected each other and sorted themselves out through the S-bends, the S-curves, the snake at Suzuka. Trading fastest lap times between Danny Ucadella and Lucas Stoltz in two different team-run Mercedes. Further back, Klaus Bachler was struggling to get past the D-Station Aston Martin. The winner from yesterday had the pace, but just didn't quite have the ability to get past. They waited to the end of the pit window to make their pit stops. We had contact with the 25 in the pits, seemingly just driving into the side of the 360 Nissan NSX. And then as the second drivers got in, we saw lots and lots of action. Jeffrey Lee, really the cork in the bottle, to be honest, finding himself up in second position, but eventually intimidated off the racetrack at Degner. That also brought the BMW of Yamaguchi off as well, and caused an accident because the 500 Nissan NSX got caught out by the gravel on the circuit and spun into the pit wall. It was Anthony Liu, though, who extended the advantage of the head of the field to win by just under 10 seconds over Abu Ibrahim. That's the second victory for the 37 machine this year and puts them right back into championship contention. There's Stefan Rattel. Great to have the main man here this weekend, the founder of the SRO organization, and the reason why we are all here, racing in Asia, racing in America, racing in Australia, in Europe, and of course,
ladies and
the
gentlemen,
World Challenge.
welcome to the podium ceremony for race 2 of the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS at Suzuka International Circuit. We will start the ceremony with the GT3 overall winners. Everybody, please welcome with big applause. On third place, car number 4, Lu Wei and Patrick Pile. On second place, car number 88, Prince Abubakar Ibrahim and Lucas Stoltz. And the winners on first place, car number 37, Anthony Liu and Daniel Foncanella. And now I invite Stefan Rattel, founder and CEO of SRO Motorsports, to award the trophies, please. Congratulations, gentlemen. All right, let's move on to the photo, please. And also to the media at the pit road, please. Okay, let's move on to it. It's champagne time! Congratulations, gentlemen!
Anthony Liu showing his appreciation to his pro driver with an absolute soaking of champagne. Big, big cred to Wei Lu as well. Third position there. Patrick Pile didn't really make too much moves in the early part of the race, but Wei Lu on that last lap, snatching third position for Bihangzhou. And this is what it looks like in the championship then. Vitakun Interprovazak still leads the championship by 10 points, ahead of Abu Akbar and then Lucas Stoltz, and Anthony Liu up to third position. Zuccarello now dropping down to 5th spot with Biang Zhu and Dennis Lind in 6th. So a few different podiums to get through to celebrate our various different classes.
Class winners, we welcome with applause on 3rd place, car number 3, Bianye and Hyuyuki. Congratulations. And on 2nd place, car number 7, Yusuke Yamasaki and Yorikatsu Tsujiko. Omedetou gozaimasu. And the winners on 1st place, car number 51, Andrew McPherson and William Van Porter. Congratulations. And now we gladly invite Stefan Rattel, founder and CEO of SRO Motorsports, to award the trophies, please. A little bit too early to open that bottle. Let's get the trophies first.
Good job from AMAC Motorsport. They obviously had a penalty early doors for contact, and yet bouncing back to still win the AM category. And they'll be enjoying themselves across the next week.
Congratulations. Let's get together for a photo. And to the media at the pit wall. All right. I think you guys are thirsty. Let's move on to champagne time. 改めましておめでとうございます。
Now, Amy says that they're thirsty, but yet they just waste all their champagne by spraying it in the air. There's not a lot of drinking going on, but it's probably better to rehydrate with the with water first. It's a hot day out there. Temperatures continue to rise.
Congratulations.
56 degrees track temperature, 35 degrees air temperature. No wonder the umbrellas are out. A few cars under investigation at the end of the race for a few incidents that we saw right at the end, actually including Abu Ibrahim under investigation for a turn 15 incident.
Winners for the GT4 Silver AM class. We welcome with big applause on 1st place, car number 50, Masaki Kano, Manabu Orido. Congratulations. Omedetou gozaimasu. And now we gladly invite Masashiko Ida, founder of Dixel, to award the trophies, please.
Sadly, 3 GT4 cars started the race, but just a single car finished, and that's why we've only got the BMW guys from GT4 on the podium. Akiland not finishing and therefore not on the podium.
はい、そして下のウォールにいらっしゃるメディアさんたちにも目線をお送りください。
Well, we've had incredible action here at Suzuka. A real privilege to watch 2 very, very entertaining Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia powered by AWS. And we don't have to wait very long to do it all again. Next weekend is Motegi for rounds 7 and 8 of the championship. Please make sure you join us. Until then, thanks for watching and bye-bye.
And now we have the GT4 AM class winners. Everybody, please welcome with big applause on first place.
One more podium to go then.
718, Naohiko Otsuka and Sho Kobayashi.
The two in the Porsche 718. So we did have two GT4 cars finish. I didn't think that
And now
they
we
finished.
gladly invite Masahiko Ida, founder of Dixo,
How
to
far
award the
down
trophies,
would
please.
they end up being? Yeah, for some, they were 4 laps down. So my assumption was that they hadn't finished. It took them 8 minutes to do the last lap. So certainly an issue with the 718 Porsche. But they're here. And because they took the checkered flag, they get themselves a trophy and some champagne. Now the question mark that I'm slightly concerned about, if you are still watching on the stream, is we have car 5 and car 88 under investigation for a crash at the chicane. I don't think we saw that. Now we saw, no, because that's a BMW and Abu Ibrahim. Under investigation for contact at turn 15, and of course the double 8 is the double 8 is for second in the grid. So if the double 8 gets a penalty for that, and it's an if because we have no idea of the circumstances of the incident, we might have a complete change in the top 3. And Race Control also announcing that they're investigating car 718, which is our podium winners in GT4 AM, with a collision with the Comet Racing Ferrari, number 7. So keep across all our social medias, including the man who's in charge of the social media, to make sure that we have all the very latest news, because it looks as though the result is very much provisional still. Here are the highlights from the second race here in Suzuka. Danny Ukadela alongside Lukas Stoltz going down towards turn 1. There was a car out of position at the start. Frankie Chen picking up a penalty for being out of position. Patrick Pile running alongside Maxi Gutz for 3rd spot, but they all fell into line as they went through the S-bends for the first time. Our pro drivers behaving well in the scorching sun of Suzuka. Further back, Klaus Bachler wasn't really making up much progress. Our race 1 winner stuck behind the D station Aston Martin for the full half an hour of his stint. Then the pit stops came, and they all came at once for some reason. We had a collision between the 25 and the 360 in pit lane, but for our leaders it was in and out without trouble. The second drivers then take over, and the pack starts to shuffle. 85 Jeffrey Lee losing second position to the number 2, and then eventually intimidated off the road at Degner and followed by Yamaguchi in the BMW. They came onto the track, they spread loads of gravel onto the circuit, and it caught out the Nissan GTR, which spun into the wall. That was contact between the 3 and the number 60 at the chicane. But it was Anthony Louis who extended his advantage at the head of the field to win by just under 10 seconds in GT4. BMW taking another victory just behind. Danny Ukadela absolutely ecstatic with a job well done at Craft Bamboo, their second victory of the year. Well, there's no rain, is there? That's about as blue as you could get. It's 35 degrees. The track temperature is 55 degrees. You could slow cook an egg. And here is the provisional race results, because it looks as though the number 88 is under investigation, but no such problems for the number 37. Anthony Louis and Danny Ukadela taking victory. Ibrahim and Stoltz provisionally second. Lou and Pile taking that 3rd spot on the last lap ahead of Zhu and Lind, with the winners in silver, the 87 R&B Porsche of Yi and Wan, and the winners in AM, the Australians of Porter and McPherson for AMAC Motorsport. At the bottom of the screen there in 30th position, the winner in GT4, BMW, And that surely now means that that BMW leads the standings. Masaki Kano and Max Orido, 75 points over the Czech shop Porsche, just 2 points back for Osuku and Kobayashi, and then a big gap down to the Toyotas that unfortunately retired out of this one and scored no points. Once again, thank you so much for joining us here at Suzuka. We've had a lot of very entertaining racing. Please keep across our social media to make sure you absolutely know the official results. And until next weekend, have a good time.